Mr. Chris Stout, and we've set them up kind of in a little bit. I'll let you can talk about with them. So it was all yours. You need anything from me? Okay. You need anything?
So I'm Chris. I served in the Army for about 7 years. I deployed a couple times, with my last deployment being Afghanistan, and I got injured overseas, and then I got to come home. So that was kind of the end of my military career. So after the Army, I went to school for a little bit, and then I worked at a couple other places, and then now we build tiny houses for homeless veterans. So how many of you guys know what a tiny house is? Right? So by definition, it's anything under 710 square feet. So that's technically a tiny house. Our houses are 240 square feet. So probably when you guys go out there, it's like the size of like probably your living rooms, you know, they're not very big. But we're able to fit a full kitchen, a full bathroom, a bed, and a little desk in each house. So if you notice, there are other tiny house communities in the United States, but this community right here is the first one inside city limits in the entire United States. So Kansas City is the first. This idea came out whenever I was working at another job, and I worked with veterans. So veterans would call and say, hey, I need help, or hey, I'm gonna be homeless, I need some money to pay my electric bill, you know, my car payment. You know, so they would call and ask for help. And so what I would do is I would say, here, call this guy and he will pay your bill. Call this guy, he will get you a house. So that's what I did every day. And through working there, we saw that there was a big gap, that a lot of veterans said, hey, you know what, I don't want to go to a shelter. You guys know what a shelter is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just like this, right? There's 100 people in there that sleep there every night. And veterans are like, no, I don't feel safe there. I'd rather sleep in the woods than, you know, in a room like this with all these other people. Because when you're in the military, they teach you how to be on your own. And through that training, these guys are like, hey, you know, I could do it better, you know, in the woods. But nobody likes to be in the woods when it's really hot or when it's really cold. You know, you can't shower, things like that. So we kind of took that idea and said, what can we do to get these guys to come in? You know, what would it take? And so me and two of my friends, we would go out to all these homeless camps, you know, where these guys were staying in the woods. And we talked to them for probably months. You know, we'd go out every week and talk to these guys. We'd have to go find them, and then we just asked them the question, what would it take for you guys to come in, you know, to get out of the cold? What would it take for you to get out of the heat? You know, what can we do for you to help you out? And the one thing that they kept saying is, we need our own space, our own four walls. So we kind of tried to wrap our head around that. How are we going to do that? Because building houses is very expensive. But when you build a tiny house, it's a lot less expensive. So that's where the idea came from. We wanted to be that place that you could come to 24/7, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, we wanted to be that place that's always open. That anytime somebody decided that they needed help, they could come, and we'd have a place for them. So we're building 50 of those houses, and we'll have a big community center. The community center will be about the size of your school, and we're gonna have, there'll be a doctor there, a dentist there, a counselor there, a lawyer there, a barber shop, a veterinarian will be there to take care of their pets, because sometimes veterans don't want to come in because they can't bring their pets with them. Some apartments don't take pets. All shelters don't take pets. So we wanted to be a place that allowed pets as well. So we'll kind of be like the one-stop shop for these guys. Anytime they need something, they come, and they can get their help at the community center, and then we have a place for them to stay. So while they're staying there, we help them get a job. We help them get their money, from the government. We help them get healthy. We teach them how to use a computer. We teach them, how to clean their house, things that they haven't done in many years. And so that's basically the idea. And we serve all veterans. If you've ever served your country, then you can come get help from us. You guys have questions? So.
Do the veterans have any activities they can do?
Yeah, so through our community center, we'll partner with different groups. So our name is Veterans Community Project. We're veteran. We call ourselves veterans because we serve veterans. Community because it takes the community, groups like you guys and what you guys have done for us to make our project work. And we're a project because a project is ongoing, right? It never ends. So we will have activities there. We'll have different groups that come and they'll take them on daily retreats. They'll kind of like field trips. They'll take them on field trips and they'll come to the community center and they'll teach classes. They will teach them how to cook. Just you name it. We'll have people there to give these guys stuff to do. Yes, sir.
How many veterans have you helped?
So we actually have 10 houses on the property right now. And so we've actually been able to serve about 200 people. We don't have anybody living in them yet, but we help through providing hotels, providing food, making car payments now and then, things like that. That's how we help. We do a lot of home repair because we're in the house building business. So it's a tough thing for these guys to get help with is getting their houses fixed, but we're able to do that. So we've helped about 200.
When did you start the project?
So this project started about 18 months ago. I was working at another place, and I think you guys probably know I was working at United Way, right? You guys raise money for United Way. So I was working there, and people call United Way a lot to ask for help. And while I was working there, it was really hard to get some of these guys help. Because sometimes they can't get help if they were never in combat. Sometimes they can't get help if they didn't serve very long. Sometimes they can't get help if they got in trouble. And so it just was really hard. And it became really frustrating, It's like trying to make something work that doesn't work, And so one day, I had a guy that, he was a Marine, and he had a wife and 2 kids. And he was about to be kicked out of his apartment. And so I took this gentleman, this veteran, and put him in a shelter for the night. And what that did was it qualified him for another program so that somebody would come and pay his rent. While he was in the shelter, the landlord came in and threw all of his stuff out. Kicked his wife out, kicked his kids out. He had a service dog. The pound came and picked it up. And so this veteran called and he's like, all my stuff's sitting outside, it's raining, my wife's at work, my kids are gone, and I don't know what to do. So I called one of my buddies, Kevin, who works on this project with me. We rented a truck and we loaded it all up. We put it in a truck for the weekend, and then we paid for a hotel for him and his family for the weekend until another charity opened up and was able to get him housed. And then over the weekend, me and my friend Kevin, we were sitting there and we had a dinner together on Saturday because this happened on Friday. And we were just kind of like, man, this stinks, this shouldn't be happening to guys. And we were like, you know what, let's fix it. Let's create a place. And so that's kind of how the idea started 18 months ago. And we just started meeting every week. Every Monday we just started meeting at a restaurant, and we would write down our ideas on a napkin, on paper. We would text each other and, just go back and forth. We were both working other jobs, and our first idea was to take an empty school and turn that into a homeless shelter. But then once we started doing a lot of research, we found that that was very expensive. And then we also found that it was no different than any other shelter, right? Because it's the same thing, we're just doing it for veterans. And that's not what was preventing them from coming in. So then we had to kind of take a step back and rethink it. And one of our friends was watching a TV and said, hey, have you guys thought about tiny houses? We're like, what do you mean, like the ones on a trailer? And they're like, no, like a permanent tiny house. And so after we started looking at it, we looked at what it costs to build one. We're actually able to build these for less than $5,000. So, which is very cost effective, right? And when you guys go out there and look, you guys are gonna be like, wow, this is like a house, but it's really cheap, right? So we're able to do that for them, and and it gives them their own space. They come in, they feel secure, and they get to put down their bags after work and not have to worry about somebody else taking them like they would at a shelter. Sure. You.
Like how many floors is there?
So every house is just one floor. It's just when you walk in, it's really simple. Just a kitchen, a bed, and a bathroom. And then we also have a TV. Every house will have a computer. So we partnered with another organization called Connecting for Good, and what they will do is they're going to bring a computer to every house, and every veteran that comes and stays with us, as they go through the process, they will get to take that computer home with them. Yes.
Next question. Can they live there, like, is there a time frame for how long they can live there?
Sure.
Or?
So the way we set it, when we were working with all these other programs, we noticed that some veterans did great within 30 days. Some veterans could not succeed in 5 months.
Right.
So we just took a step back and we were like, listen, that program might not be good for me just because it's good for him. And so we were very adamant that we're not going to set time frames. We do have a process to ensure that they don't just sit there and live there forever, but we know that not everybody is the same, and they learn at different paces or they struggle with reintegration. And so we will assign, every veteran will have a case manager. And so traditionally case managers work with about 25 to 30 people. Our case managers will only work with 8. And that'll ensure that they continue to move through the program and that they're successful.
So can you talk a little bit about why it's so hard when you get back to
So a lot of these guys, so everybody, I think most people think that guys are homeless because they have no money, but that's not the case. A lot of these guys make money and they do quite well. They get a check every month, whether it's from the military or from the government, and so they make plenty of money. The thing is a lot of these guys choose to be homeless because they've been in combat or they've been in a stressful situation and they can't adjust. It's tough to be around a lot of people. It stresses them out, and so they do what it takes to kind of control their environment. And so to control their environment, sometimes that even means moving into the woods alone, so that they don't have to worry about other people. They can kind of be in charge of who they talk to and who they don't. Whereas if you live in an apartment, you're dealing with a landlord, you're dealing with all your neighbors, kids running down the hall, things like that, and that stresses a lot of guys out. Combat's a tough thing for guys. They see a lot of stuff, and then they try to be normal, and when you see things like that, it's not as easy to forgive. Yes, sir.
Kind of like you're doing, we're raising money for clean water in Africa, and you're making tiny houses. We've already raised more than $900 for clean water.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
When do you think you'll be finished?
So, fingers crossed. So we are all privately funded. So the only way we're able to build things is when guys like you donate. Whenever they say, hey, here's money to build a house. We are all dependent on funding. Right now we have enough to build all 50 houses. So we're doing quite well there. But our community center is our next big thing to tackle, and they've actually just started digging our sewer and putting in our electricity on the property for all these houses. They started that last week with the surveys. So, we had great people that stepped in and said, hey, I want to pay for the sewer, I want to pay for the infrastructure. I want to buy 2 houses. And so that's how we operate. And as soon as we get people that want to continue to help us out, then we'll keep building. As long as people keep giving, we'll keep building. Yes, sir.
If heating and cooling in the house, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, no, that's a great question because
Yeah.
I've gone across the country to probably 10 different homeless communities and tiny house villages where they don't have electricity, they don't have water, they don't have heaters. A couple weeks ago, I was in Seattle and they have a community very similar to this. And so in 28 little houses, about half the size of that, they have 100 people living there. 22 of them are kids younger than you guys. And they have no electricity, so no lights, no heaters, and they're in Seattle, which it gets really cold in Seattle. No bathrooms, they use porta potties to go to the bathroom. And then there's a room, a tent, it's about half the size of this room, where they all have to eat. And so our community will be a little bit different. Ours are built to code, are built just like your house is at home. Our houses are built the same way, and they have everything that your house has.
Some like tiny house villages that you said just sounded like orphanages for everyone to me.
Being homeless is tough. It's not an easy thing. It takes a very strong person to go from being housed like us to being homeless, and then to back to being housed. It's a lot of hard work. Having a job and then taking care of your kids, and it's just a tough thing. But the people that are homeless are very strong, and they figure it out. Yeah.
Why is it just veterans?
So we serve veterans because we feel, myself and Kevin and then Brian and everybody that's a part of our group, we're all veterans. And when you're working with veterans, it's another veteran best understands you, right? So kind of like talking to your friends at school, they probably understand you better than your parents understand you, right? It's the same thing. So we chose veterans because it's all based around fundraising, and so there's only so many that we can serve, so we had to kind of choose. We hope that because of what we're doing here in Kansas City, that they will build other communities like this for all homeless. So we're kind of paving the way there. Yes, sir.
Before you guys started this and you couldn't get them help, did you guys send them snack packs?
Yeah, so
every once in a while?
we would do different fundraisers, and we would collect hygiene kits, and in those hygiene kits you make sure you put socks and underwear and little snack bars and just kind of that cool stuff that they don't usually get to spend their money on. A lot of people don't realize that the number one thing that for homeless guys is socks. They don't get to wash their feet very often, and so then they tend to wear the same socks over and over. And then most homeless, from the time they wake up in the morning, they're walking to their next meal, whether it's at a community center, a shelter, and then after that meal they have to leave, so then again they're walking again. They might be raising money on the corner of the street, they might have some job collecting cans, whatever it might be, but they're always on their feet. And so socks are a very important thing because it helps keep their feet healthy so they can continue to get around. Yes, sir.
How do people find out about your community?
So the great thing about veterans is they tend to find out from each other. So one of our big things is we have to make sure that we do a great job from day one taking care of everybody, because if we mess up with just one veteran, then he'll share that with the next guy, and he's going to say, hey, don't go there. Those guys are horrible, or those guys are slow. Those guys couldn't help me. So we never want to have that reputation. So that's why when somebody asks for help, if we can't do it, we find somebody that can, and we make sure they get what they need from day one. So it's typically word of mouth. Yes, sir.
What inspired you to go to war?
To serve our country.
Yes. My brother had joined the Navy before I did. I actually came to Kansas City to go to college, and so I went to college for a few years, and then I was just like, man, bored. I don't know what to do. I was not following the rules. And then my brother's like, dude, join the Army. I'm like, really, the Army? He's like, what about the Navy? It sounds more fun and not as horrible because, you know, you're on a boat and you're not in the desert. He's like, no, don't do the Navy. So he talked me into joining the Army. And I just happened to join at a time that, you know, we were deploying a lot. But, you know, it was the best thing. I love the Army. I miss it. If I had not gotten hurt, I'd still be in the Army. Because it's great. You know, you get to hang out with your friends all day. You get to go to cool places. You get to do cool things, you know. One of the things that I hated the most when I was in the Army was jumping out of airplanes because I was in an airborne unit, and I hated it. I was like, man, this is scary. I close my eyes every jump, but now that I don't do it, I'm like, man, I really wish I could jump again. You know, so it's something that I miss, and yeah, it's, you know, it's just it gives you this sense of fullness, you know, like you're doing the right thing, and it's a good thing. And when you get out, you kind of miss it. That's kind of why you see a lot of veterans starting a lot of nonprofits and, you know, kind of heading down that way because they still want to serve their community.
Like 1 or 2 more questions?
Do you have any kids?
I do have kids. You'll see one of them outside in the tiny house. He's 4 years old. That's my youngest. And then I have an 11-year-old, and then a 13-year-old, and a 17-year-old. So 4 kids altogether.
And you live right here in Liberty, right?
I do. I live here in Liberty. My kids go to school in Liberty. Yeah, we're very local. Yes, sir.
What school do they go to?
Logan, the oldest one, goes to Liberty North, and then the 2 middle kids, the 2 girls in the middle, they go to South Valley. Good.
Oh, Luke is just picking up some courage. Sure, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What caused you to come back here?
What caused me to come back here? This is where my family was from. I was married and she lived here, and so we came back here to live after I got out of the Army. Kansas City's a great spot. Right in the middle. You get to go everywhere. It's close to everything, right?
And you were hurt too, right? So
I was
further
hurt.
into you-
Yes, yeah. So when I got hurt, I spent about 1.5 years in the hospital, and then about another year or so kind of with surgeries and going through therapy. And so because my family was in this area, the Army let me move here and get all my medical care at Fort Leavenworth. And so I was able to be with my family and get treatment. Yes, sir.
What place did you go?
I got shot in the ankle, and I had a crush injury. So like a big truck fell on my leg, and it happens, you know. Yes,
One
sir.
Yeah, one more.
Middle House Community?
Where is it?
Yeah.
It is off of 89th and Troost. So it's in South Kansas City, down by Bannister Road. So if you guys know where Bannister Road is, it's kind of hard. It's really easy to find.
It's not
So-
too far from here.
It's not. No, it's not. It's actually only like 22 miles away. So real close. And we're located right on a bus line, so every veteran in the city could get there, you know, if they want.
'Cause that's another thing too that people can donate money to, right? To get bus passes so that they can have bus passes to.
Yeah. So one of the hardest things for these guys to do is to get around, and there's not a lot of programs out there that provide transportation. So they can't get to their medical appointments, they can't get to work, things like that. So we do raise money to buy bus passes for these guys, and so that they can get around. And plus, it's a great thing to teach these guys how to use the public system, so they don't have to pay the extra expense for a car. So.
So tomorrow's the first day of the project, and if everything goes well, we'll just have a whole lot of veterans out here. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna build a home, and we're gonna learn some stuff. The main objective of this workshop is that this is going to be assisting veterans to create their own community that's self-sufficient and self-supportive. And the reason that I'm here is because I believe in the process.
So about 18 months ago, it was simply an idea. We were sitting around the table just thinking, man, there has to be a better answer. There has to be a place that's open 24/7, a place that is designed to say yes first, and then solve all the problems.
We sat around writing on a napkin, what can we do, how can we house homeless vets, and we eventually came up with a concept for tiny houses.
Look at tiny houses in conjunction with post-traumatic stress. You know, these guys need their own space versus entering a shelter with the groups of people. This allows for them to reintegrate at their own pace and still be productive members of society. That was ultimately our goal. Simply, what can we do to add dignity and to give back?
A year and a half later, we've got 10 houses on the property, and we're building more.
Zach showing up was incredible. He just wanted to come in and help us build a house and help raise some awareness. I've really been blown away just by the amount of work that he's done. He hasn't stopped since he got to town.
I learned what king studs were. I learned how to put in headers for windows. I learned how to frame windows. Later on, I'm going to learn actually how to put the roof on.
Yeah, baby. On the city council, I was always, kind of hesitant to see what kind of new projects and surprises come my way, but this one was a winner.
Not only is this going to be helpful to veterans, I think it's helpful to the rest of the country. Less is more in 2016.
The fact that there's so many people who are willing to come out, volunteer their time, different organizations that are willing to volunteer.
It gives you a good feeling. It's going to produce productive members of society. It's not something just for a few people. No, it's going to be a revolving door, and it's going to help position countless veterans.
Myself, battling with PTSD and trying to take my own life, I really struggled to try to figure out, where do I belong? Why am I needed?
You gotta survive. But there's people out there that care about you. And they do come around and want to see how your life is. They give the best they can.
We're not in it to become millionaires. We're not in it to, just fame. We're in it because we have guys that need help, and they need help like yesterday. And we named ourselves Veterans Community Project because we serve veterans. It takes the community to make it happen, and we're a project. We're not ever going to be done.
Beginning on Veterans Day, November 11th, 2016, through December 31st, 2016, for a $25 donation, you're automatically entered into a raffle, and we will draw a winner on New Year's Day, 2017. That winner gets this home, and all that money raised from it is going to directly support Veterans Community Project.
Try a raffle ticket for $25. There's a chance you can win the whole house.
right now in Kansas City, the Veterans Community Project has a property where they're eventually going to put 50 tiny homes, just like the one that you see behind me. They're getting cabinets, they're getting bathrooms. It's really going to be housing with dignity. And I think that that is the key. It's not just a roof over your head, it's a place that you can be proud of.